between Donald Trump and top Republicans escalating today, with Donald Trump mocking the 2008 Republican nominee John McCain and slamming Speaker Paul Ryan during a Twitter tirade today. Try saying that 3 times. This is one of them. Despite winning the second debate in a landslide, every poll, parentheses, it is hard to do well when Paul Ryan and others give zero support, and Donald Trump took more jabs at his own party, tweeting, "This little R's are far more difficult than crooked Hillary. They come at you from all sides. They don't know how to win. I will teach them." Joining me now to discuss, Fox News political contributor Tammy Bruce, Matt Connolly, Republican Congress congressional candidate and former NASCAR champion, and Stephen Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Stephen, let me start with you. What do you make of this? It worked very well, I think, for Donald Trump in the primaries, and I think he's gone back to what he knows works for him.
Yeah, well, it works well in a primary when you have 16 other candidates. It doesn't work as well when you're one-on-one with Hillary Clinton and you're attacking the leading congressional Republican when you need Republican votes. Donald Trump, you talk to strategists, needs somewhere between 92 and 95% of Republican voters to vote for him. After the debate, according to the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, he lost 9% of Republicans who said that they would no longer vote for them. 14% more said that they weren't sure if they could support him. He's moving in the wrong direction.
Tammy, I think those numbers have improved in the last 24 hours.
Sure.
But that being said, though, even if he had a large swath of, let's say 90+%,
yeah.
There is the issue of beyond the core, beyond the party. Does this stuff help or hurt with that?
Well, I think that already you saw also the independents reacting very positively to the debate on Sunday. But I do have to note that I was a Democrat up until 2008, and that the reaction on the Democrat side is always to circle the wagon and to support their individuals. They did that with Bill Clinton. What we saw even before that Paul Ryan saw what the reaction would be after the tapes came out on Friday was to publicly, effectively abandon Mr. Trump. So when we talk about Donald Trump going in the wrong direction, I think what he's reacting to now is party leadership taking a stand that exacerbates these problems, creates more tension, more division, and so when you're looking at who's causing this framework, it's actually the reason why Mr. Trump exists. It's because of these people fold like cheap chairs, and they abandon anybody who ends up getting in trouble, and they don't fight.
Do you think they were looking for an excuse to do this? In other words,
obviously,
there were a lot of establishment Republicans who just could not wait for the first excuse to bail out on Donald Trump.
Well, I think that's obviously the case. We know that obviously it was a tepid endorsement in the first place. Mr. Ryan says that he's not going to defend Trump anymore. He never did. He never really campaigned with him, so it's not a surprise. The same with Senator McCain and others. So this is why, though, we're in this reformation, is because Republicans and Americans want people who have a spine, who will stand up for this country, for Americans, and against our enemy. And the only person on the scene right now who's doing that and will do it is Donald Trump.
Matt Connolly, you're also a GOP strategist, former NASCAR champion. You've got an incredible resume, and you're running in a very competitive state. What do you make of this tirade? I know last night Donald Trump in your state had the Lowells out there, 10,000 folks. They were excited, they were energized. But can this work? Can this help the down ballot candidates as well?
It can. I have to tell you, I was at the Wilkes-Barre rally last night, and it was unbelievable. The energy was incredible. The little boy, the mini Trump, was totally impromptu, and it stole the show. But I have to tell you, from my viewpoint on the ground, my Pennsylvania District 17 has 6 counties, and I attend all of the county fairs and all the local fairs. Our booth is usually right across from the Democrat booth. We are 2 and 3 people deep wanting Trump signs and Trump banners and Trump pins. The Democrats have no one, unfortunately. What we are hearing, people come up and say, "I haven't voted in 16 years. If she gets in, we're done. This is our last chance." The passion these people have. And what's so interesting is that the pollsters are not talking to these people. They don't know who they are. I think, honestly, you have to add 7 points to whatever the pollsters are saying, because likely voters are likely voters. And the fact that Paul Ryan said what he said, the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats, there's just not a whole lot of difference in some ways. They are looking for perfection. It doesn't happen. We are getting what we're getting. We're getting an inspirational leader in the form of Donald Trump.
You know, Stephen, there have been a lot of folks on the Republican side who've been against Donald Trump for a myriad of reasons, and I think you're on that list. What do you
Yeah,
make?
definitely.
What do you make of it then when people say that you're not a real Republican, you're not a real conservative, that it's all about protecting the establishment, protecting your turf, and ultimately your own wallet?
Well, I'm not a Republican. I've never been a Republican. I'm not associated with the Republican Party. I'm a conservative with some libertarian leanings. I'm making arguments based on what I think is best for small government, for limited government.
Have you ever gone against the Republican nominee before?
Sure, I voted for Harry Brown in 1996 over Bob Dole. Harry Brown was the Libertarian candidate on the ballot that year. I thought Bob Dole was too establishment, so I voted for Harry Brown. I don't think, I mean, the framing of this is as sort of Republican establishment versus non-establishment doesn't work. I mean, a lot of the people who are most opposed to Donald Trump are small government conservatives who are making small government conservative arguments like Mike Lee. I mean, Mike Lee, nobody's going to accuse Mike Lee of being part of the Republican establishment. He came to Washington and immediately fought the Republican establishment, stood alongside Ted Cruz, and did it the whole time. Paul Ryan, by the way, who is now being disparaged as a part of the Republican establishment, was the person who fought the Republican establishment to introduce entitlement reform, which I think anybody who's worried about $20 trillion in debt ought to be serious about entitlement reform.
Considering Paul Ryan now runs the House and has given Obama everything he's wanted, I think the point is how much people change.
I mean, that's just
how
absurd.
much people
It's just
change.
absurd.
Look at the debt. I mean, there has been no point
Paul
where
Ryan's
anything has been
responsible for
cut.
the debt?
Look, he holds the purse strings. He's done nothing to stop the nature of the spending and he's done nothing to defund Obamacare. So we look at the trajectory, Stephen. I mean, I agree with you. I'm also not a Republican, but we're looking at a dynamic where the nation is collapsing, and Paul Ryan has been in there for 17, 18 years now. So let's not talk about him not being the establishment. When we look at the trajectory of what's happened to this country, he is part of the issue of somebody who has not stopped it. I mean, we can all have great ideas, but it's about what you're going to get done. And
Look,
Mr. Ryan hasn't got much done.
The Republican establishment ran against Paul Ryan and his entitlement reform, told candidates, congressional candidates like Matt and others, don't talk about entitlement reform, don't talk about the budget changes that Paul Ryan is proposing. They're far too radical. And Paul Ryan said, forget it, we're doing it anyway. He won, Republicans won the House, and then entitlement reform became part of those budgets every year since. It's a huge problem. We're not going to solve our $20 trillion in debt.
The Republicans won the House in the 2010. The Republicans won the House in the 2010 Tea Party sweep, and we took the Senate in the 2014 Tea Party sweep. That's why we have the House. And right now we have Obamacare still killing every American family. How many trillions more in debt? I mean, nothing has changed.
Matt, let me ask you, Matt, because ultimately, if Donald Trump prevails, he's the president, he would have to work with Paul Ryan. Do you think there are so much animosity because there are a lot, dozens and dozens of Republicans who've now distanced themselves from Donald Trump. Can they find a way to reunite and get things done in Washington, Matt?
I think Donald Trump wins in November. I think there will be a few-week period of tension, perhaps. I think by the time the inauguration comes around, it'll be joy and harmony. Because let's be honest, when Donald Trump wins, and I do believe he will, he is going to be the kind of leader, and he will give them a spine. He will say, look, guys, it's okay to go against the media. After all, he's done it. He will give them the courage of their convictions that they always seem to run a little short of when the going gets tough. Tammy was exactly right. They have passed everything that Obama has wanted. They're always afraid of shutting the government down, and what did they do this time at the end of September? Another continuing resolution to December. Where was the spine in that? What changed? Where were the cuts? There were no guts in that because, unfortunately, sometimes they can seem to be, and I mean this on both sides, they can seem to be professional cowards, and we can't do that. We have a $20 trillion reward for being professional cowards.
All right,
you gotta have some real guts.
I'm a big dead person, too. I'm not sure that that's going to be curbed anytime soon, but this is the showdown of all showdowns. Guys, you're all fantastic.
You know who's going to help with that? Mike Pence.
I appreciate it. Stephen, thanks a lot for your first time on the show. Appreciate it. Well, the GOP is engulfed in this all-out civil war. I want to talk about the potential post-election scenarios. Trump wins, but they lose the House. Trump loses, what happens? I mean, there's so many different outcomes. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for this country when we come back?